Let's talk some more about the news from the ANC that it is now starting to act against party members who have not voluntarily stepped aside despite serious charges against them. I'm joined now from the University of Johannesburg by Professor Cebisi Ntletyana. Prof, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. So, Mike Mabuya-Kulu has done the right thing. Who else should be doing the right thing, in your view?
Well, all those who are charged, those who've been named, must all step aside. I mean, this is a decision that was communicated by the NEC, that was taken. It was very clear that if you are charged, then you must step aside. And they were given 30 days to do so. So they should have done that. In fact, what the NEC should do, because if you haven't stepped down, it means you are in breach of the NEC decision. So they must be suspended instantly. But not only that, there must be a disciplinary process that takes effect. Because what they are guilty of, in addition to their original infraction, is that they defied an NEC decision. So it's not enough that they should be suspended, but there must be additional penalty to them defying an NEC decision.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is the thing, is what does step aside mean? If the person voluntarily steps aside, do we know whether it indicates whether they will still be paid? Say, for example, they're a member of parliament or a member of the provincial legislature.
Well, those are some of the regulations apparently they are going to provide in the next few days. Because it's not entirely clear. Yes, you will not fulfill any official duties, but if you are a person that is employed, does it mean that you still get a salary or not? It's not clear, but what is certain is that you don't get involved in official duties from whatever position you've been suspended. But there's a little bit of murkiness in this, Sally, especially going back to the issue of disciplinary measures. Because the ANC Constitution, in fact, the Integrity Commission pointed this out, that if a person refuses to step down voluntarily, then that person should be suspended by the NEC, but not only that, there must be punitive actions. So I'm a little bit surprised that from the statement that they've issued today, there is no mention of disciplinary measures. Or maybe it's something that the NEC will still talk about. And of course, the NEC this coming weekend will also tell us about what exactly stepping aside entail in terms of the questions that you've asked.
Yeah. Of course, if we look at the list of people, Mike Mabuya-Kulu in KwaZulu-Natal has now stepped aside. But two other really prominent names, of course, is the party's SG, Ace Magashule, and the former mayor of eThekwini, Zandile Gwemere, who I think is now a member of the provincial legislature in KwaZulu-Natal. No word from either of them. Do you expect them to step aside, or do you think they may be spearheading a fight back against this resolution?
Whatever they think is really inconsequential, in that the NEC has already taken a decision. You see, the problem with the ANC has always been indecisiveness in fighting and lack of clarity at the helm of the party within the NEC. What has happened this time around is that the majority of the NEC have decided on the same decision. So there is unanimity on the charge, right, and clarity on when people should step aside. So there's no confusion. Previously, if the NEC was somewhat divided, you could appeal to certain elements within the NEC. Then you would have the same issue dragging on and on without any firm decision being taken, because the NEC would have been divided. But this time around, there is unanimity, and therefore they don't have anywhere else to go. There is no structure to appeal. The only thing to do is to step down, and the NEC has additional recourse of applying disciplinary measures against them. So then the issue becomes what happens when they've been they are out there. Do they mobilize? Do they have capacity to mobilize? And as far as I can tell, I don't think they have a capacity to mobilize. We shouldn't confuse Ace Magashule with Jacob Zuma. The two figures are quite different. The context is different. I'm not sure if you have time, but the two are quite dissimilar. And Ace Magashule will not mount the same kind of fight back as Jacob Zuma.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder, you're talking about the NEC being united around this issue now. Why now? And why has it taken 8 years? Is it because the party has seen the writing on the wall in terms of a loss of voter support, gradually, because we're seeing the impact of corruption? And I'm thinking, of course, of what the President said last week at the State Capture Commission. Is it simply that they had no choice and they realised that if they are to survive, they have to act against corruption?
You answered that question partly. Yes. Electoral loss and the shock at the level of depravity within the organization with the looting of monies intended for purchasing of PPEs. You were in the middle of a health crisis. The country already doesn't have money, so you're having to redirect monies elsewhere to purchase these health facilities, and you have people looting this money intended for people who are dying. So that level of impunity, callousness that you would steal money intended to save lives, I think sparked outrage throughout the country. You might have experienced that as well. And everybody was looking at the ANC and shocked. We've always known that they were corrupt, but to that level, that was a different level altogether. And so that outrage then got the president of the ANC and like-minded within the NEC to start acting. Because this is happening at the time when the ANC should be renewing itself. So the thievery then meant that this talk of renewal was all a lie. So to give credibility to this idea of a new dawn, you had to act. And that's what got them to take this decision from the letter last year that the ANC is number one accused to the decision of the NEC this March, because it was just too much. I think that was the key thing. Electoral losses, the crisis of legitimacy, disbelief that the ANC is not in a new dawn. So you had to give credibility to your own tenure as the president, in the hope, of course, that you will continue to revive electoral fortunes. Because the ANC picked up, 56, 57% in the last election. That's still not far from 50. So they still have to work and work quite hard to make sure that they get back to the upper 50s and possibly into the 60s.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us. That was from the University of Johannesburg, Professor Mcebisi Ndletjana. Now, still ahead.